Hi everyone, this is Claire at StudentRDH. Can you please put in the chat if you can hear me or not? If you can hear me, just say yes, I can hear you. Okay, oh, perfect. Thank you, thank you. So maybe I don't even need those earpods. All right, so thank you for being here. We are just a few minutes away from starting our webinar, and this is December 27th, right? I hope everybody had a great Christmas. Who's happy to be on Christmas break? I'm assuming everybody's on Christmas break, and I remember the feeling that, you know, when I was a student, I mean, I couldn't, Thanksgiving, you know, it's coming, and then after that is Christmas, and then it's New Year's, and then you have to think about, okay, then I have my boards, right? So we're here today to learn about how to study for the board examination, because it's a whole science, it's a whole art, and we can obviously do our best of reading the textbook, but there's so much more we can do in order to pass our boards, to make our life even easier. So I'm just gonna wait a few moments so that we can start our webinar. Now, in the chat, please give me all your questions. I wanna answer them when we're doing a webinar, and also I want to answer them after the webinar, okay? So here, can you just tell me, first of all, where you're from and what school you are going to? We have Laura, we have Kathleen, Delaney, Emily, Jacqueline, Leanne, we have Roel from UNC Chapel Hill. I know right now I have some background noise. That's a heater. Let me know if it's really disturbing, that I can try to move to a different group. We have Jadeline from, oh, it's going fast. Okay, Georgian, great. We have Yakima as well, Kathleen from Washington, Columbia, Basin. Okay, those are all the schools that I know very well. Either we help some of your colleagues, some of your students pass the board examination, or we have some faculties who are helping our students using StudentRDH as well. So we have also Sarah from Toronto, welcome. We will CCBC, Stacy from Baltimore, perfect. All right, so we have Queens, we have a lot. Heather from Hertzing, Nadia, perfect. So we have probably a lot of different states over here. I don't have to repeat all of them, but welcome again. We are December 27th. You probably feel like I need to do something with my life right now. You probably feel like this is the time for me to focus. And obviously you're here today, so that says a lot about you. So welcome again. My name is Claire. I am the founder of StudentRDH. StudentRDH is a board exam prep solution that helps about 15,000 students so far pass the board examination, so you can be assured that you're in good hands. And my job every day is to help you, okay? Unless I have something that's, I mean, this is what's most important to me, for you to succeed. My sister, who's a dentist, is my co-founder. I am a hygienist, and the story is very simple. Why did I start this? Because I wanted to pass the board examination. I felt like I didn't have enough when I was studying, or there were some in-person boards review courses, right? You can tell me on the chat right now if you were planning on going to the live boards review course, or if you already signed up for that. Anyhow, in my case, I'm like, that costs a lot of money. I don't want to go 4-hour driving to a place that I'm not familiar with, and paying for the hotel. So that's when my sister and we got together, we created StudentRDH. Now, I'm just here doing what I do best, helping the student pass the board examination. So if you have a question, put it on the chat. In the meantime, I'm going to load my presentation because we don't have a moment to waste. Now, as we start, I wanted to tell you that there's a discount code for the success package at the end of the webinar. If you are interested still until the end, so we can give you the code, and that is only valid until December 31st, so stay tuned. All right, so again, question that will be on the chat. I'm looking at it right now. If we don't have questions, I am going to start it. Or Emily has a question already. Do you recommend doing one sentence at a time or jumping around? That's actually a really good question, Emily. So why don't I address that when we have something a little bit more relevant, okay? And if I can understand what you're saying, you're trying to say, okay, do I finish pharmacology, or do pharmacology and then or pathology, for example? Am I right, Emily? You can put that, okay, great, in the chat. See, the chat works amazing. So I am going to start the presentation here. and I'm going to share my screen with you all. You'll have to let me know if you can see my screen. All right, so can everybody see my screen right now? This is literally my laptop. Yes? Yes, perfect. Okay, so let me continue now. I'm going to load my presentation, and then we will take more questions, okay? So here it is, and I can see the group chat again. All right, so the title today is how to prepare for the boards, the written boards, right? Because some area in the country have what's called the clinical boards. Now, there are multiple series. This is about how to prepare. I have another one, January 3rd. That's everything you have to know about the NBDHE, because the guidelines keep updating day to day right now because they are transitioning to the 2020 guideline. I'm reading it every day. They actually have some new guidelines that you need to know about parental classifications. So I'm going to cover that in January. Today, let's talk about techniques, about strategy. Now, we have here Sarah Bishman, and I love sharing Sarah's story because she was a student with StudentRDH years ago, about 3 or 4 years ago even, from West Virginia University. And she was struggling, you know, she allowed me to share her story. It's also on YouTube, but she even had a diagnosed learning disability. So she was always given more time, you know, she always had accommodation, but obviously the board examination, I mean, how many questions do you think there is in the board examination, the US and Canada? Can you put it on the chat right now?
350.
You know how many questions there are?
350.
Hey, 350, perfect. That is for the American boards. You have 350 questions. And also, if you have the Canadian boards, do you know how many questions there are in total? We had some Toronto students, so that's 200 questions. Anyway, Sarah had this learning disability, failed twice, was about to get married, you know, so it was a lot of stress for her. And her professor approached me. She approached me, amazing student, amazing clinician, and an amazing athlete as well. She was a student athlete at West Virginia University. And it was really her last chance. And obviously, you know, the story ends well, but we went through a series of really of strategy because she needed even more strategy because of her learning disability. And today I'm sharing not only the strategies that I used with her, okay, some real strategies, but other things that I have done for all of our students, 15,000 students, to pass the board examination. So that's why I'm introducing Sarah here, because she's a real story, and it always is a lot of hope for dental hygiene students to hear someone who passed the examination despite any other difficulties they had in their life. So here, this is going to be the agenda today. We're going to start thinking about how we're going to plan our day, how we're going to identify our weaknesses, how we're going to study in small chunks, how we're going to review better, and how we're going to find keywords. And then we can also go to how to use memory techniques. And I'm going to let you think about how you can practice on your computer and how you can prepare mentally. I know that's a lot going on right now, but I promise it's going to be fun. So first of all, you have to plan your days. Now, anybody here in the chat, you can tell me, did you already make a calendar for yourself? Do you know your exam date? You can put it here on the group chat. When is your exam date? It could be May. A lot of you, oh, January 22nd, Jackie, we are approaching real soon. Okay. April 21st. Oh, we have a lot of, okay. If you are taking it January 20th, are you going together to a specific school? Okay, we have March, we have April. Okay, we have tomorrow, Jennifer. Okay. Don't worry, you just focus on the last part, which is mental preparation that we're going to talk during the webinar, okay? So a lot of you are taking it between January and May, as I can see. All right, so this is how you plan your day. And you can ask me, Claire, how long does it take for someone to prep for the boards normally? Normally, I would say about 2 to 3 months, 60 to 90 days. That's kind of about the right time to really prepare for the boards, to really dive in. But if you're taking it tomorrow, I'm sure you prepared already. So first of all, this is just an example. I said, okay, maybe I'm taking my exam in March 30th. When I was at school, I took it around May, end of May, actually after graduation, but let's say I'm taking March 30th, then I say, okay, I have about 80 days. Well, it's actually 90 days, but the reason I say 80 days because there are some days I'm going to take off. Maybe there is someone's birthday. Maybe I need to be somewhere. Maybe I'm going to have a full day of, community session, or maybe actually I need to take a day off for myself as well. So that's why I said I have about 80 days of studying from today. And I say, how many chapters of studying do I have to do? So depending on which board review you attend, in StudentRDH we have 17. I split them up in smaller chunks, okay? I didn't say provisions of dental hygiene. Well, that actually is everything you ever need to know. So instead of doing that, we have smaller chapters like you had in your class to make it more manageable. If you go to other boards review courses, they might actually have bigger chunks. So it depends. But I say we have 17 chapters at StudentRDH. So I did the math. We have, originally, not 90 days, it's 80 days divided by 17. That gives you about 4.7 days. So now you have to think, I have about 4 days per subject. Now, does that motivate you if you say, I have oral pathology, I only have 4 days to study, right? The clock is ticking. You need to start right now. So this is just a start. Can everybody hear me? Because we have Mate who's telling me that she cannot hear me. Okay, so Mate, that might be your speaker. Can you try to play around to see if you can hear me? Perfect, thank you. So going back to 4 days, you now have a general idea that each topic should be finished in 4 days. That's the first step. But then you have to account for the mock exam. Now, the mock exam is extremely important because that's everything that's wrapping up, right? So if you were gonna run a marathon, would you run it without practicing the full marathon? Would you go straight from running a half marathon to saying, tomorrow I'm just gonna go for the full marathon? It's probably not the greatest idea, although a marathon, at the end, if you fail, that is okay. This exam, if you fail, well, the consequences are rather big. First of all, it's expensive. Second, you can't start working until much longer, and it hurts personally. So hopefully you don't get there. So plan your days. So think about how many days you have, do the math. You can do it right now if you want, or you can do it right after this webinar. Say 60 days, I have 17 chapters, I have 2 days per chapter to go. Now we're on fire, right? So this is the schedule that you would get if you have the StudentRDH Success package. You also get it, this scheduling for free, okay? And no matter what, you can request this for free. I'm not charging anything to get this. This is just an assessment for yourself, saying this is going to be January, February, March, April, and you write down your date and you say, I'm going to work on radiology Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, January, 1, 2, 3. So you understand at least where everything can be packed. So Kate Sanders, you are asking where the schedule is. First of all, if you have the StudentRDH Success Package, you're going to get an entire 250-page book. Inside there's the schedule. So you can do that. And also, if you want, you can request it for free at StudentRDH as well. Just send me an email. Usually, if you sign up with any of the course, you will get it as a PDF as well. Great. And can you, everybody, mute your own microphone if you can, because we have about 100 students today and we just want everybody to have a great experience. Thank you very much. Sorry, Mati, you cannot hear anything. This is recorded, so maybe you'll hear it better later. So once you have your study schedule, then you have to start identifying your weakness. Now, can you tell me very honestly in your chat, do you know what your weaknesses are? Do you know what subjects are your weaknesses? Is that periodontology? Is it, Jackie is like, yeah, oral facial? Is that, oh, pharm, we have a lot of pharm. Okay, we have a lot of perio, oral, path, everything. Okay, micro, okay. So what I would like to say is that pharmacology is one of the most important topics to cover because, and I'm going to tell you why. So there are main subjects that you have to know for the board examination. Write it down right now if you can. So there is periodontology, because we do a lot of perio work, such as finding how much the pocket is, what kind of periodontal disease the patient has. The second one is pharmacology, because nobody has a perfect health. Even us, we take Tylenol, even me, you know, a long time ago, that's actually when I was in hygiene school, I tested positive for TB. I don't remember being sick, but TB is floating in the air, it's aerosol. Maybe I had it in the clinics. A patient maybe came in, they didn't tell me I had TB. So for example, you know, we have conditions, nobody is healthy perfectly. Then we have community. Why is community so important? Community, if you do the math, it's a whole chunk of the examination that focuses on oral pathology. I didn't make it up. You can look at it in the guideline. They tell you how many questions there are in community or health. If you draw a pie for all the different chapters, community is a really, really big pie. And then we have oral pathology, because the case studies will probably show you some sort of lesions in the mouth, some sort of color change. And you have to identify with the radiograph, with the patient's drugs, what kind of condition this is. That's why oral pathology is so important as well. So 4, again, if anybody can repeat that, that would be great. So that's pharmacology, periodontology, oral pathology, and then community. Now, Nadia is saying embryology is one of the hardest for her, and that is true, because there's a lot to remember, right? There's a morula that becomes I mean, we're literally a disc when we start life, and then we have the bilaminar layer, and then we become a trilaminar layer, and then we fold ourselves into this little balls, for example. So that is very, very difficult to understand. And if you are with StudentRDH, if you have the success package, I have a lot of mnemonics for you that are already built into the system as a video, so you can watch those. Thanks for sharing, Nadia. That was, so anybody can respond to A. Gomez right now via the chat. So there was oral path, there were perio, what else there was? Community, yes. Pharmacology. Does that answer your question? Okay, perfect. So now let's continue with the subject of witness, because when you study, this is what I found Sarah to do a lot, and a lot of students who failed, actually, they keep studying what they know. And because some areas are their weaknesses, either they don't touch it, or they are too late to really tackle their weaknesses. And if you see an athlete, a pro athlete, you know, I mean, they try everything. They practice every day, everything. However, what they're good at, yeah, they're gonna spend a lot less time doing, and what they're not good at, they're gonna spend a lot of time mastering those skills, so they don't look weak in front of the opponent. So we have to do the same thing. We have to understand, where am I weak? What are my weaknesses? If it's pharm, like many of you said, then start with pharmacology. If it's embryology that scares you, start with something that scares you. Let's not leave it until the end. Well, obviously, sometimes there's a reverse psychology saying start with the easier one so you feel a little better, you feel a little bit more motivated. I would say go straight for the hardest one, because you can spend a little bit more time, and then later on you might just go a little faster on subjects you know a little better. Now let's look at this NBDHE. Now for Canadian students, on January 3rd, I have a separate Canadian webinar. Okay, please attend as well, so I give you all the goodies about the Canadian exam. This is the NBDHE, the American exam. Now, can you see on the left side what I've highlighted, saying the discipline-based components in the 200 items? So there are 2 parts. First of all, you have to know the first session 1 and then session 2. So they're saying in session 1, they will talk about, you'll have questions on scientific basis, on provisions on dental hygiene services, and then community health and research principle. Now that's really, really large, right? And let's see if they give us a little bit more clue about what we have to study. They say scientific basis for dental hygiene, 61 items, 61 questions. That includes anatomy, physiology, biology, nutrition, microbiology, immunology, pathology, and pharmacology. Does that give you any clue of what is going to happen? Honestly, not. You know, when you look at the guidelines here, you're like, what is going on? So yeah, that's how I felt. Actually, it was a little more detailed earlier, years ago, but they changed it to something that's harder to read now. Now they tell you the provision of clinical dental hygiene services, which includes, you know, radiograph, planning, managing dental hygiene diagnosis, performing periodontal procedure, all of that 115 questions, right? That's like everything. There's no real clue for us here to understand what we actually have to study. But then you look at community oral health, you know, there are about 24 questions. So 200 items, 24 questions, that's about 12, 13%. And among the 17 chapters, community is one. So the other 16 chapters are less than like 85%, and this one is about 12%. That's a big part. That's why I wanted to highlight over here. So that's why when we had StudentRDH, I didn't want to make it, oh, clinical of dental hygiene services, 150 items, and here's everything you have to know, because that's too large. That's why we still separated into mini components, which is about 17 chapters. And I want you to sit down now, take quiz 1. So in StudentRDH, for every single chapter, you have a quiz 1 and quiz 2. So quiz 1, you can more look at it as your own self-assessment. And I want you to write down the score of quiz 1. Say pharmacology, did I do 50? Head and neck anatomy, 65. Or pathology, 75. Whatever that is, put them down. And that helps you understand what your weaknesses are. Now, you can tell me honestly in the chat whether you have StudentRDH. You can say yes. If no, it's okay. You can say no, I'm going to NDRDH, whatever that is. I want you to just be honest here. And I just want to understand if I need to send this to everybody right now. So when you have quiz 1, and if you don't have StudentRDH, and thank you very much for being honest, you know, and I'm not here to sell you anything, guys, here. I'm just here trying to provide everything that I can for all of you, okay? So Lindsay, thanks for also sharing your story. Take your textbook, take Mosby, take Sanders, everything you have, and identify the topic, and then take a quiz. Now, I don't care if it's the back of the page or whether back of the book, if you find another online source, but find a set of questions that can help you identify what your weaknesses are. Does that make sense? It's like when you go, let's say you decided to become a pro athlete and you want to play football. Now, I know nothing about football, but I know at least that you throw the ball, right? And probably they're gonna get you to throw the ball to assess you. They're gonna have you catch it. They're gonna have you run. They're gonna have you push objects to see how strong you are. That's exactly what we're trying to do here. What are your weaknesses? Then when you have your weaknesses, let's go back to our plan over here. You're gonna start with what you are the weakest. Does that make any sense? If you understand, you can say yes in the chat. So we have Janelle that is asking, you meant to take the quiz before starting studying. Okay, this is exactly what I'm saying. Thank you for saying that. I am asking you to take the quiz before studying. In StudentRDH, we have 2 quizzes for that purpose. If you are starting with a different book or a different program, find something else that can serve you as an assessment, okay? Thank you for saying yes, Emily and Heather. So once you know you have some weaknesses, and in my case too, that was pharmacology, that was very obvious, okay? And it's okay if you took both quizzes before studying because that primes you. There's a concept of priming, you know, just like a primer we have when we apply our makeup, it like helps you, okay? So you put it here, and then what I want you to do though, after your study, let's say it was pharmacology, you study pharmacology, and you know what, you're gonna take quiz 1 again. You're gonna take quiz 1 again because you want to know if you are doing better or worse. Usually you would have done better, right? You wanna feel like I was 60 in the beginning, now I'm 75, I'm okay. In set 2 quiz as well, I want you to take it, put the score down, and then take the second quiz so you understand how you are progressing, right? If you're thinking about, again, pro athletes or people who are going to run the marathon, they write down their scores. They understand how fast they're going. It's not up to luck. We are not here trying to win the lottery. We're trying to be diligent. We're trying to do everything we can to seal the deal with our board examination. So that would be start with your weakness. Does that make any sense here? I try to just share this with everybody because strategy is really, really important here. Now, let's talk about studying in smaller chunks. Now, this is an image of like a brick building, right? I mean, building a brick wall is brick by brick, one at a time. And the reason I brought this image is because that's exactly what we have to do when we are studying. We have to go brick by brick. So one brick, you can think of it as a small section of your textbook. And you have to layer them carefully, because if you just try to build it too fast all at once, everything is going to crumble. The foundation is not solid enough. So let's look at this. This is StudentRDH, and this is, do you know what chapter this would be? Can anybody guess? Would that be embryology? Would that be orthopathology? No, right? This is exactly, Jennifer, head and neck anatomy. Thank you, Esther. So we have head and neck anatomy, and in head and neck anatomy, there are many, 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 many small topics. And yes, Emily, please send me an email if you don't get the rewatch, okay? So have a good day at work. So when you have those many topics, it's easier to just check it off. That's what the system is at StudentRDH. You get a check mark. You have a green, or it's actually blue because that's our color, check mark, and you can move on to the next topic. So in this head and neck anatomy, instead of saying head and neck, that's a lot too large. That's why we have cranial bones. When we have face and cervical bones, we have muscles of facial expression, muscles of mastication separately. So go in smaller chunks. Now, if you are with StudentRDH, it's okay because everything is made for you like that already. And can I call Betty, please? Betty, I think you have your microphone on. Could you mute yourself, please? Thank you. So again, I'm calling Betty here. If we can find a Betty, it'll be great if you can find a way to mute yourself. All right, so let's continue. If not, I can find people who are not muted manually as well. So if it's really disturbing, I will take a minute to do so as well. So what I was saying is that we have to find small chunks now. If you are using MostMe and you don't have any plans to use StudentRDH, which is okay as well, you know, you have to chunk it as well. If you have little topics, then say, I'm going to study from here to here, and then here to here. Okay, does that make any sense? So what I wanted to share with you here again is that we needed to start small, like brick by brick. And I am going to share with you this study. So this is a study, and I read a lot about memory and how to study because I actually speak on those topics, not only in dentistry. I teach also faculty members. I teach students. I also teach professionals outside of dentistry how to perform better in their memory, in their learning. So I read a lot of research, and this one I wanted to share. This one is about how you can actually augment your performance by taking little chunks at a time. So you have two lines that go like that, another one that goes like that. Can you actually see those? Okay, so when you see this line that goes all the way down, that's when there is no break in 2-hour session and more. So those are the 2 3-hour lectures, and you're not really taking any break and you keep going, going, and going. The other one that goes like that is that there's no break and it's a 2-hour session. Now, you see those little humps over here? It's like little waves, right? Those are when you are breaking, so you're taking a little break and you continue. So those are little chunks that I'm talking about. So when you have those little chunks, then of 30 minutes usually, and you review and preview, your performance is getting so much better. Do you see you are steady at 75% versus if you were studying 2 or 3 hours in a row without chunking, without breaking, and without making them smaller components, you would have a curve that goes down like this. Okay, so that's why I'm just trying to show you some science behind the chunking method. So you want to find little topics at a time instead of reading hours straight and putting yourself to bed actually, by reading long text. Now we have a question from MLS1Tag. Will the new StudentRDH package include live webinars on subject, or is that videos? So I have already recorded videos that you can play again and again that include memory techniques. But once a month, we're going to meet and we're going to do a live Q&A session. So you can ask anything you want, any clarification, any strategy, any anxiety. So thank you for asking that. And the reason why everything is recorded because I wanted you to have the best experience. I wanted you to be able to repeat it again and again and again instead of a live webinar when it's more like a one-time. All right, so we have a question from Ra K. So will you also be suggesting environments that we should study in the time sequence tip? And that, thank you for sharing that. I'm going to talk about some repeating review tips right after this, okay? Now, Singrid is asking, how long do you suggest breaking while using this method? Usually it's a 25-minute and 5-minute break. 25 minutes studying and 5-minute break. And Mel, okay, Mel, we need some love from here, from our community. Mel is going to get her 3rd try. Can we try to tell her that she can do it? Can we be positive here that you got this? Thank you, Jackie. Thank you, Ruel, everybody who is supporting one another here. You know what, a lot of times, it is about strategy. It is about anxiety management. Honestly, I bet you have the information in your head. Maybe you needed a timer. Maybe you needed a computer system that helps you track your progress better and see all the love that is coming to you. So this is really a collective effort. It's not like you fail, I pass. We all have to pass together. Okay, so let's continue. Thank you so much, everybody. You are awesome. So that's what I was talking by chunking 30 minutes, but since we had a question, the more detailed answer would be study for 25 minutes and have a 5-minute break and find small topics that you can actually chunk. Now, the next strategy is to kind of build into your system a nice repeat pattern. This comes from science. This is not something I invented. This is something that is proven to work, and it is called the spaced repeating system. If you want to actually look it up on Google, the scientific term. Anyhow, here, this is exactly what you have to do. So let's say you start pharmacology today. When you go to bed, you quickly recall. You don't have to recall everything you have learned, but let's say you just learned pharmacokinetics, pharmacodynamics, and maybe some route of administration, and maybe some analgesic. Okay, that's where you stop. Before going to bed, you just think for 2 minutes, okay, I read this, I saw this image, this is the question I got wrong, this is what I didn't know, and then, now I know what's the difference between kinetic and dynamic is, for example. Okay, so this is how you are going to use the sequence. And then the next day, you might study periodontology, or you might continue with pharmacology. But whatever you're studying, you have to repeat what you have done the day before. Now it takes 1 minute. You just say, oh yeah, yesterday I did pharmacodynamics and kinetics, and I learned about analgesics, And yeah, I got some questions wrong, but I know what they are now. 3 days from now, you actually have to do the same as well. 6 days, 1 month, 3 months, and 6 months. Now, we might not have 6 months in our hands, right? So it would be 136, 136. That's the pattern that you have to follow. So if you keep doing that, what happens in your brain is that you keep getting the memory back, because I'll tell you scientifically, if you are studying something and go 1 week without repeating it, you are losing 90% of what you have learned. You are only left with 10% what you have learned. Isn't that scary? So to avoid that, a quick 1 or 2 minute repetition of what you have done the day before, 3 days before, 6 days before is extremely helpful. Any questions on this technique? It's called the spaced repetition. Now this has worked not just for me. I am a memory champion myself. I use this technique. I teach actively, not just in dentistry, but software engineers and many other professionals. It works. And the reason is because our memory are neurons, right? A lot of neurons, they connect. The connection needs to be stronger and stronger. Just like when we were learning how to instrument, the more we do, the better we get at it. We can't expect to just learn how to probe one day and 6 months later you come and you say, hi, I still know how to probe. You still need to repeat it, but there is a technique to this repetition. You don't have to do it every day, actually. You just do 1, 3, 6, and then you can wait a whole month and do 1, 2, 1, 3, 6, okay? So Hannah is asking, how much time do you recommend to study before attempting for the boards? And in my personal opinion, it would be at least 2 months. I have seen students pass in 3 weeks. That is completely fine as well. But I want you to know that 2 to 3 months is generally what we have at StudentRDH. So Ruel is asking, are you saying that we can lose up to 90% if we don't use the spaced repetition? And yes, that is what the science is saying. You can lose up to 90%. This is actually called the Ebbinghaus forgetting curve. It's a real curve made by this guy named Ebbinghaus. He was a psychologist. And this still lives to this day to explain how memory works. And Sarah is asking, how many hours a day should you study, right? Let me see. So you want me to spell that, right? So Ebbinghaus. Search, oops. Ebbinghaus. 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 I'm going to spell it right now for you. Okay. Now, Sarah's asking again, how many hours a day? Now, usually students study all day long, but again, in small chunks. So you might feel like I haven't actually studied the whole day, or I don't feel productive because I didn't sit for 4 hours straight or 2 hours straight. However, your memory works better that way. Just like when you're training at the gym, would they make you run for 8 hours? No. Would they make you lift for 8 hours? That is impossible. Our body and mind cannot take it. So again, take smaller chunks, but maybe you start at 8 a.m. in the morning and you still study until 8 p.m. in the morning. That's 12 hours. When you compress it together, that's maybe 8 hours of studying, but you have some breaks in between. So thank you so much for asking that. And then I remember we had a question about should you swap, should you kind of interchange what you are learning? And you know, there are 2 answers to that, which is a little difficult because one answer is yes. So this is actually the theory of interleaving. And as you know, you can tell, I know a lot of those theories because I teach it and I actively use it myself. So interleaving is when you do one thing and another thing. So you're kind of like kneading it together like that. However, it depends on how many days of studying you have. So in our case, we have only about 3 months left. I would rather you do 4 days of radiology, 4 days of oral pathology, 4 days of community oral health, for example, than saying 1 day community oral health, then radiology, then oral pathology. It gets a little too complicated. So my suggestion would be just chunk it, get this done first, and then move on to the next one, but still use this repetition pattern. And when you're studying orthopathology, you can quickly think about, oh, actually, what did I learn when I was studying pharmacology? Does that answer your question somehow? Now, Sigrid has a question. Is there something in the success package that will help with the spaced repetition techniques, small reviews, retake quiz, any suggestions? And thank you for asking that. So in StudentRDH success package, we don't exactly have the spaced recognition technique into it because that's a whole system actually that, and it's individual. So your space is totally different than someone else's space because your sequence is different. However, we have those quizzes 1 and 2 for you to repeat, and also there's another extra set of quiz at the very end, about only 10 questions, but those are actually meant for you just quickly just rework your brain when you are completely done with the chapter and you're going to another chapter as well, because we want you to just be able to pull that information back 3 days or 6 days or 1 month back without actually having to read the entire thing. You just want a little teaser in your brain saying, hey, do you remember? This is what you used to learn. And Reem is asking, do you have to study our school books, notes, or can we just study with StudentRDH only? Now, if anybody who passed with StudentRDH will tell you that StudentRDH is plenty to pass the board examination. It is plenty. I looked at everything you can possibly think of. Mosby, Sanders, I studied them line by line, every single pathology textbook, you know, everything you have to know and condense it to the best format that we can ever think of. What I found when I was reading all those big textbooks is that there were just a lot of words that were not exactly important. And for the board examination, because they ask you to just read this amount of books, you really have to focus on what's the core, what's most important, and being able to mold it yourself rather than memorizing line by line all the big textbook. That would be my suggestion for that. Okay, so thank you, Rim, for asking that question. All right, so let's continue here. So we talked about the repetition system, 1, 3, 6, 1, 3, and 6. Now, this is the study because, as you can tell, I love studying, being able to share those with you. So as you can see, day 1, okay, if you are not using the spaced repetition system, your memory goes down, you know, about to 40%. And if you let it drop, that's what I was telling you, it can go down to 10%. But then if you just give it a little boost, then it goes up to 100, it will go down again. But then you give it another boost, and then another boost, and then it will really stick to your memory. But as you can see, the forgetting curve is getting slower and slower every time. You can see the slope is not as steep. So, you know, we have to repeat it about 7 times. Now, we talked about this repetition system. Now, this is about finding the keywords. Now, why do I have this? If anybody knows about makeup and contouring, that's what we're actually trying to do. Finding what's important for us and finding what we can actually put in the background, okay? So here you can see she's more highlighting this area and then kind of putting some dark colors on the side where she wants to make it a little more indented. So anyhow, this is how it works. And again, thank you for Carissa saying that. Maybe someone has their microphone on, so if you do, please mute yourself. It would really help everybody have a better experience. Thank you. All right, let's continue. So now find the keywords. This is what you can see at StudentRDH. And you can also do that with any textbook you have, okay? So here you have lines of explanations, but find the keywords, right? You have to find the keywords. And let's see what the keywords are in our case. So in our case, they are anti-inflammatory. We're talking about here non-opioids, okay? We're talking about analgesics here. And then when we talk about NSAID, there's anti-inflammatory, that's a big keyword. Another one would be arthritis. Another one would be antiplatelet agent. So there's a lot to learn in non-opioids, but if I can summarize it for you, what's most important, because you already know that it kills pain, right? You already know that it helps with fever. You probably also know that it helps with inflammation. However, the reason why I say anti-inflammatory is a big word over here is because if you continue with acetaminophen, Tylenol, well, you can see that it is not anti-inflammatory. Therefore, when you have an inflammation, Tylenol is not going to help you reduce the swelling. So just like that, you have to understand what the key words are in order to really get down to the core of what's important. So just like that, we have highlighted words for you over here already. However, if you're using a different textbook, if you're using something else, please try to find your own keywords, okay? So let me know if you have questions related to that right now. And in the meantime, I think I can answer some questions over here. So, Mel is asking, I don't know why I said it was StudentRDH and the questions didn't change. So Mel, okay, so thank you for sharing that. How it's supposed to work is the questions were supposed to rotate. So I'm actually gonna look that up right after the webinar, what happened in the back end, okay? So we have a larger pool of questions and every time it pulls a certain number from that pool, so you don't get the same questions again and again. So you might not see all 2,500 questions at once, but if you do quiz one again, two, and two again, you probably will see everything because every time again, it's supposed to give you some mix of older questions and newer questions. And Hannah is asking, how many mock boards are included? So the mock boards are, mock boards is divided into 4 different chunks. We have all of that as StudentRDH, and it also includes one timer, so you can understand how fast or slow you're going, just like the real board examination. Now, mock boards, there's something I would like to clarify over here is that, so that, you know, there are probably about 2 different companies that do boards review, and another boards review is it's actually spreading the wrong information about StudentRDH, and we're trying to understand, you know, what he's trying to say. But anyhow, they're mock boards of not real mock boards. There are half mocks. They're not the real deal. It doesn't include the case studies with like the clicks and all the different charts and photograph and radiograph and the timer like you would have in the real board examination. But at StudentRDH, we do have that. It really replicates the experience. And thank you again, my computer, sorry, that's what it says, to raise that question because I'll look that up, okay? So now I wanted to show you a quick video of, now you know that you have highlighted non-inflammatory for acetaminophen, which is Tylenol. If you had a question like that, and this is actually StudentRDH, you'll be able to answer, okay, it does not do inflammatory work, and then you'll be able to read the answer, okay? And we give you everything you have to know, all the definition for every single quiz. So what I wanted to highlight over here is that you needed to find some keywords, okay? And let's continue. Now, another one I really am passionate about that you already know is memory techniques. I created what's called Wake Up Memory that I teach not for just dental hygiene, but everybody who needs that, including software engineers. Now, let's look at this. This is the suffixes for the drugs that are for, blood pressure. So atenolol, OL, what is it? Is this a beta blocker? Is it a diuretic? Is that an ACE inhibitor? Any of those, right? So this is what I do with Wake Up Memory technique. And thank you for answering that. That is the exact correct answer, beta blocker. So OL, you put it together and it comes to a D and a D. If you flip it like a mirror, you would get a B and a B, and then a B and a B gives you beta blocker. Easy, right? Now let's do with IDE. IDE, if you take the ID in there, because there's no other word, there's no other drug in high blood pressure drugs that has IND, you flip it again, and DI gives you diuretic. Perfect. Thank you, Kate Sanders, for saying you actually remember this from the memory technique. So Pril, what I do with Pril, I put an A, like the month of April, and then this A gives me a clue that it is an ACE inhibitor. Okay, perfect. 10, so I say my arm is 10. And then I take the arm, only the arm, okay? Don't take your leg, just your arm, and say ARB. That is close enough, right? So it doesn't have to be exact because nobody asked you how did you memorize this. They just only care to see if you have the right answer. Last one, PINE, which is Cal. So I think about California pine trees. Maybe you are in Tahoe. Maybe you're in an area that has a lot of pine trees, and you say Cal Pine, and you say calcium channel blocker. Now, I know this is a little weird. This is not exactly what you actually learn at school, but this is how our memory works. We are using existing connections. We are making new ones. We are enhancing them. And we are using what our brain already has, a system that it already has, because we know April, we know arm, we know what California is, you know what a pine tree is. So when you are using wake-up memory, this is exactly what you're doing. So your brain is all about neurons, and they form connections, and they are strengthening the connections every time you are repeating something. Do you see that one neuron is growing to another one, and you are really connecting this information? Just wanted to show you this cool video. This is an actual neuron growing branches. They're called dendrites. Now, a few more things here. Cyclosporin, just an idea. When I see cyclosporin, I think about cycle like a bicycle, and I zoom in on the round wheel, and it gives me gingival overgrowth because I think about round, okay? And then here we have calcium channel blocker. So I just take the C and a C and flip the other C, and it gives me an O, right? And I think about having gingival O, like big O, swelled gum. So now you know with cyclosporin and calcium channel blocker, you can have gingival overgrowth. That is a side effect of those drugs. Now, phenytoin is another one, because phenytoin to me sounds like fen, like a round fan. I don't care about the spelling here, I only care about how it sounds. So as you can see, it's not just the spelling, it's how it sounds, how it feels to you. And when you think about round fan, you think about round gingiva. And if you now had a question like this, which medication causes gingival overgrowth? Well, this is a two-step question, but PINE, let's do it together. PINE, what was it? Calpine, right? Calcium channel blocker, okay? You flip the C, that gives you an O, and you know now that it causes gingival overgrowth. Thank you so much for participating. And if you got it wrong, do not worry. This is just a learning process, okay? But do you remember there was no diuretic that caused gingival overgrowth? And then when you think about the other ones that you see, metformin, metronidazole, they are not hypertension drugs, all right? So we just learned how to use memory techniques in order to enhance our learning. Now think about it, if you did it right now, you go to the board examination, how much easier would the exam be? Aren't they great? So I built that again into a success package in StudentRDH. I'm planning on making a lot more, okay? Thank you so much, Laura, for saying you love the memory techniques. And I surveyed 5,500 students last year. They told me, Claire, we want a book. Claire, we want memory techniques. That's why the success package was born. Now let's continue. Just a few more things. Here now, when you are studying, the book is great. Students said, I want a book. So we actually created a book with StudentRDH. So if you have the success package, a book will be delivered to you around mid-January. However, I want you to practice on your computer. Why? Because the exam is on the computer. Now this is, for example, this is the mock exam, and I know we had a question earlier about the mock exam, but as you can see on the left top, you have a timer at StudentRDH. So you know, just like the board examination, how you are going to go fast or slow. Now, when you have that, you are going to be able to see the timer again and be able to choose your answer. Okay, you're gonna click and then you're gonna continue to the next question, and then you're gonna click again, you're gonna continue to the next question and all of that. Now, this sounds very easy, right? Nowadays we are used to, but see what I just did? I just said flag for later. So in your board examination, you have a flag function, okay, USA and Canada. You have an area where you can say, I wanna review it later. Now, it could be a star function, a little flag, but in StudentRDH, we made it just red. But you know that you have that for your boards, okay? So when you feel like there's a question you cannot answer, would like to get back when you have more time, you know what to do now. So this is on the mock exam at StudentRDH. It really replicates the process. But what I wanted to show you here is that you need to understand how to prep using a computer. Now, this is a real report from OECD. So this is a report that says students who do not use computers in math lessons score highest in mathematics. What I'm trying to say is when you are using a paper, you actually score higher than what you would do with a computer. Isn't that scary? So what I'm trying to say again here is that you need to use your computer to prep, because that's the only way you are actually going to prepare better. Paper is easy. Paper is easier because you have touch, you have smell, you know, I mean, you're using your hands versus a computer is just your brain, your eyeballs, and your click. It's not exactly how we work as humans. So that's why paper is easy. Students who use paper are scoring higher. So don't make the mistake of using paper, and then go to the computer examination that is 8 hours if you are in the US and 4 hours if you are in Canada, because you're gonna score lower than what you actually have prepared. Okay, so that's why I'm telling you, prepare with the computer from the beginning. That's why StudentRDH is built on the computer from the beginning, okay? Now we have a question from Nadia saying, should we use both paper and computer? And that is probably exactly the answer what we need to do. Okay, obviously you can use paper, for example, your textbook on paper. Now, maybe if you have StudentRDH Success Package, you ask for a book. So basically all the notes that we have are also in physical book formats for you to have. However, you can read that, but I want you to go back to your computer and compare it with you know, the book that you're going to receive with StudentRDH, because it's very similar information. Some are a little different, but very similar information. Say, okay, I read about analgesic here on my paper. How does it feel for me to read this on the computer with StudentRDH? Same content, but it might feel different to you. So use both if you have the Success Package. If you have the basic package, you will only focus on the computer. So train yourself to be at the hardest environment for you to get to the finish line. Any questions over here around computer formats? No, I think we are all good. And, you know, when you sit down for a live review, if you're going to one of those, that is great as well. However, that's not exactly how the exam is going to roll, right? Nobody's going to sit you down for 50 hours within 3 days and then give you a book for you to prep for the examination or do your questions. So understand that at the end of the day, when you come home, you have to supplement it with some sort of computer format examination if you can. And if you don't have StudentRDH, that's okay. If you have Mosby, that is okay. So for example, Mosby, they have their own boards question, computerized question as well. So you can use those as well. Again, I'm not trying to say get StudentRDH, I'm trying to say just get something that has a computerized mock exam so you can practice better. Thank you, Mel, for the question, and Melissa for answering. The book will come around mid-January. It's in print right now. However, it's Christmas holiday season, so it's taking them another week longer than they expected. So I will update you on that. If you are signed up, I will let you know as soon as it comes out fresh that I'm shipping it to you. Okay. So this is a video of a case study. So let's discover it together. So do you have your timer over here again? And, oh, you know what? I did actually put the wrong video. So what I should have put is that in the case study, you have a photograph, radiograph, a chart, and a patient profile. So you're gonna click through all those 4 different components in order to arrive at your final answer. And if you didn't practice on the computer format, especially reading the radiograph and the photograph and reading the patient's chart on the computer can be a lot more challenging than reading it on paper format. So, think about staring at the computer for 8 hours. That's a lot. Okay. So now, the last part, this is really the last part. We are at the end of our session as well. And we have some of you who are taking the exam tomorrow, but mental preparation is as important as getting the information. Mental preparation, any athlete, if you ask any athlete in the world that are successful, or any business person who's successful, any professor who's successful, it was a lot of mental work. What do you have to do for your mental work? First, you have to rehearse in your head how you're going to study, how you're going to go to the exam. In your head, you're going to think, hey, I'm going to do this. This is how it's going to feel. I know it's going to go well. I'm going to see the questions. I'm going to take my break. I'm going to come back. So you played in your head. Like this athlete, okay, who's jumping. He played it in his head before he actually jumped. Like baseball players, they play the pitch before they actually do it on the fields. Any athlete would do that. They see their success before they even get there. And then you also need to know that you have to be mentally prepared for ups and downs, ups and downs. It will not be a straight curve up. And actually in our memory too, it's never a straight curve up like that. It'll go up and down, but continuously, if you continue this, generally it is going up. It is not going to be a straight line, but be prepared mentally that there will be some moments when you want to quit. There will be moments when you feel like I'm going to fail. And when you go to the examination, US is 8 hours and Canada is 4 hours, you're going to sit there and think, I am done with this. I just want to go as fast as I can, because I want to get out of this room. I'm already done. My brain is fried. So no, play it in your head already. You're going to have hard moments. But just try to reverse that and say, well, actually, this is just a moment, and I know I can do better than that. I play this sentence in your head, and you say the worst thing that can happen to you. Okay, when you say, when I feel like I'm going to fail the boards, you go to the next sentence and say, then I will, and you bring something funny, positive, makes you laugh, makes you silly. Can I share you something silly with me? I'm actually going to share you, I'm going to show you something. Okay, I'm trying to find myself here if you can't see me. Can anybody see my scars over here? Yeah, okay, it's like I have like 5, 6 like dots, darker dots. Okay, so what I'm trying to show you here is that I recently went to the beach, and you know what happened? I got zapped by jellyfish. Those are like jellyfish marks. I felt I was gonna die for 30 minutes because I felt paralyzed, and it felt just horrible. I felt like someone stabbed me in the neck. It just, the toxin, oh my God, I was worried. I thought it was gonna go up my brain, it's gonna go down my chest to my heart. Anyhow, I don't know if anybody got zapped by jellyfish, but what I'm trying to tell you is something funny. So when you have something that's like scary, so I'm gonna fail the boards, then you need a zapping moment that wakes you up, say, it's okay actually, it's just in your head. So find something like that. Find something that's going to turn you to a funny, positive mood. It could be a jellyfish zapping for me. It could be anything you had in your life. One of those stupid moments that you can share with everybody and everybody's going to laugh. So I want you to be mentally prepared for this condition and have that sentence, have these images ready. Last thing is I want you to feel it in your bones. I want you to feel it in your bones that you're going to succeed. And thank you, Hannah, for the feedback. I want you to succeed, but you have to believe in yourself. It needs to come from you. I can believe in you all day long, but you're the one who's going to go to the board examination to pass the boards. So you need to feel your success boiling inside of you. When you go to the board examination, you know how well it's going to end already. So I want you to feel that. So that is mental preparation. And we had a friend who was going to take the board tomorrow, and I want you to just feel that. You know, I don't want you to cram more information today. It's okay. The period, whatever you see today might not happen, probably not. So I want you to focus on staying calm and take breaks during the examination and be mentally prepared, okay? All right. Thank you, Jennifer, for saying you are, I feel ready than I was for the first time. Thank you for your motivation. And you know what? You guys are motivating each other. It's not just me. It's you, all of you who are doing the work. And lastly, I want you to just really imagine the success. Okay, we have over 15,000 success stories. You don't have to be with StudentRDH. You don't have to buy it. That is completely okay. But I want you to get out there and be successful. All right. Any more questions here? Lastly, if you want it, just in case, wanted the success package, sorry, it's like $349 instead of $450. You can get the discount. The code is a complete typo, sorry. Obviously not 49. It's December 27 webinar, DEC 27 webinar, and you can still get until December 31st the $101 discount, okay? I'm gonna send that to you via email as well, but please write it down if you want DEC 27 webinar. All right, so let's look at our questions over here. So can you replay? I am recording it right now, and I hope everything goes well so I can share this with you when it is done, okay? Heather, you say, I like variation. So would it be okay to study 2 topics per day, half morning, half afternoon for some variation? I love that. That is completely okay. Thank you for sharing that. If you tell me I want to do 3 at a time, that would scare me a little bit, saying our brain might not like all this too many variation. But if you keep yourself consistent, half and half, for example, I think your brain is going to like it, your body's going to like it, and you're going to feel good as well. That's a good suggestion for everybody as well. We have Lindsay. Can we request buy another book if we are studying with our friend? That is a great question. Now, the only problem, Lindsay, is that the book, guys, the book is only one part of the equation. As you can tell, the quizzes on the computer, the mock exam with the timer, all of that creates success. So just having the book, whether it's StudentRDH, whether it's Mosby, whether it's Andy, whatever that is just one part of the story. That's why, honestly, Heather, I'm sorry, but we don't just sell the book, because it really takes away the other components. Now, you can ask, can I share StudentRDH account, the web account with a friend as well? The problem with that as well is that, you know, your progress is recorded with your friend's progress at the same time, because the computer cannot tell this is a different person. So what you have not said is actually can show up as something you have completed and you have done well, when in reality that is your weakness. That's why sharing account is very scary, because that actually does not reflect your success. So it's like seeing someone else's progress. So that's why I would honestly, if you have friends who want to sign up, I would rather both give you a bigger discount than try to have you share things like that. Does that make any sense? And I apologize, you know, for not being able to say, hey, you can have another book, but I really want you to have the full experience. Thank you. And then Kimberly, if you already have the basic package, if you want the book, you can email me. I'll give you a special discount code. So you just add the book for $50 and it will come to you again in the mail. Okay. So email me saying, Claire, you promised me this during the webinar. Okay. And so Fairy Day is asking, are the YouTube videos in StudentRDH important? So what you have in StudentRDH Success Package is me talking about content, all of that. However, I also included resources. There are actual YouTube videos that I didn't create. There are a lot of medical doctors, people who have created it that lives on the internet for free. So that's actually like a resource that I put on top of the videos that I have. Now, if you ask me, yes, those resources are important because they help you understand, for example, hypertension. What is hypertension? What happens when you have hypertension? More in depth, and those are great videos. I already streamed thousands of videos for you just to have the best of the best. So if you are sitting in the subway for 10 minutes or taking a break for 10 minutes, please watch those YouTube videos as well. Those are free resources that I already trimmed and that are already really compiled for you that are most important for a board examination, okay? So Mel, the code is, anybody can contribute D27 webinar, and that gives you the 101 discount for Success Package. I love all the chat that is coming. And Nadia is saying, I'm taking the boards in July. Is it too early to study for it now? Guys, what do you think the answer is? What do you think you would tell Nadia? She's taking the boards in July, right? Hannah is saying, no, not too early, Letha, because, you know, the best thing you can do for yourself is give you more time. If you feel like you have enough time, then do it one more time. It doesn't hurt. Any athlete as well, they wouldn't stop rehearsing because they have time left. They would just rehearse more the same thing again and again. Maybe there's something in there, that a keyword that you missed, okay? But if you had more time, then what can happen is that you studied all StudentRDH, did all the mock exam and everything, then maybe you can go back to your oral pathology book and actually just look at a few more images. So it really builds your confidence. You would rather get to the finish line at a good pace than just rushing there and trying to get to the door, okay? So thank you for asking that. And Laurel's asking, if we bought the $299, is that possible to upgrade? Yes, Laurel. So you email me, okay? Email me, Sinclair, you promised me the webinar that we could upgrade for only $50, okay? And I will give you the link to do so. And Farida is saying, because there are a lot of information in YouTube, and that is very correct. Now, Farida, I'm gonna tell you, do you need all of those in order to pass the boards? No. There's a lot of information. For example, let's go back to hypertension. They're going to tell you everything about hypertension, the mechanism of it, all the different drugs, how it's caused, the blood pressure, what does that even mean? However, it's good to help you comprehend the summarized version we have at StudentRDH, the summarized version you have at MOSB, the summarized version that you have in your dental hygiene textbook. So you don't need that. You don't need to memorize all of that to pass the boards. This is more for you to expand your concept, to really have a good grasp of it, because we are dental hygienists, right? We're not medical professionals. So for example, if you tell me what is arrhythmia, it's hard for me to explain that very intelligently because I'm not a medical doctor, I'm not a cardiac surgeon, but people have explained that. But what you have to know is to understand the concept, get the core out of it, repeat it with StudentRDH or anything else you learn, and then you'll be really ready for the board examinations. Okay. Yes, Mel, Laura, email me and you tell me, Claire, you promised me this upgrade at a great discount, and I'll send you the code and I'll send you the link. Now, any more questions, guys? It's been already over an hour. I am so thankful to have you here on December 27th, you know, right before New Year's, and I hope you all have the chance to sit down, plan your year so you can all be successful, okay? Hi Mel, are you asking if there's a StudentRDH group? So we have our StudentRDH page. You can contribute as much as you would love to on that StudentRDH Facebook page as well. There's no specific closed group, but you know what, guys, if you feel like I need a Facebook closed group, let me know. I would be happy to open one so you really can engage our conversation, okay? Thank you for the suggestion. Thank you, everybody. We have Ruel, we have Melissa, Suez, Nadia, Mel, Leanne, Mish, Lisa, Rita, Alexis, Stacy, and Hannah, Morgan. And sorry if I have not been able to call your name during the webinar. Frances, we have Chanel, Mighty, sorry if I'm pronouncing wrong, Jennifer Reem, and there's another one that was called My Computer, I don't know who that was, Lindsay. So I'm always here, okay? I respond to the emails personally, and Sam, Amanda, and if you have more questions for me, you know, don't hesitate. I want you to be extremely successful in everything you do. I want you to just be able to get out there, and once you become an RDH, I want you to meet me. I want to meet you as a colleague as well, not just as a student anymore. All right, so have a great day, y'all. I'm gonna end the chat. I'm gonna end our conversation right now. Happy New Year. 2020 is gonna be big, guys, okay? 2020, whatever it is gonna be big, okay? You're gonna kill it, and let's go kill it together. All right, bye.